Welcome to the good, the bad, and the sequel with your hosts, Doug and Jamie.
We are back, and this is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts. The first, an interview with an actor or someone involved that made the film worth watching, and the second, a discussion of the sequel, what they got right, what they got wrong, and how it could have been better. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Kristen DeBell. You know her from probably a movie that I watched last night. So last night I was bored. I was flipping through Tubi. Tubi, you're getting a free plug here. And I watched Meatballs. What a great movie. And she worked with Jackie Chan, Richard Gere, and she's in this week's film, Samurai Cop 2, Deadly Vengeance. But before I go into this over-the-top, crazy sequel, I got to introduce you to my partner in the sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Doug. Just got done watching the movie, actually.
Nice. This is one I wish, obviously, with the coronavirus, I hope people are staying safe. This has been fun to do in the same room because it was just so insane.
I have never seen a movie like this. And, you know, we've covered some crazy movies. This is definitely one in its own right. You know, and I'm not a big person on B-movie cult movies, and I know this is a huge movie. I checked Rotten Tomatoes; it was 94%
Yes.
from viewers,
Yes.
and no critics. You know, critics didn't review it, but it makes me rethink the quality of Rotten Tomatoes now going forward.
No, you know it's funny. One of the quotes in the trailer, I think for the first one, it says it's the best and worst action movie of all time. And I have to agree. And this is one thing, we're going to get into the movie in a second. So what's crazy about this movie? So the first one was directed by someone different. The guy, he passed away. But the thing about the second one, which we'll talk about, first one's just like this unique monster. There's like bad cuts. They reuse footage within like a few minutes of each other. The lines are ridiculous. So like being a sequel, you're trying to recreate the magic in the first one. So you see a lot of parts in this movie that they're almost like ruining footage to make it look like the original, which I guess is cool to pay homage to the original. But so how'd you like Joe Marshall?
Well, first of all, does he even know karate? I mean, like, you watch this movie, he just throws a couple punches here and there. First of all, he looks like a cross between Weird Al and Alice Cooper. He looks exactly like both of them. I mean, like, he just, I don't know. It was a weird, and you know, it's funny. I actually read something about him when I was doing some research that they thought he was dead, I guess, in real life. And either they were going to offer him the part of the first one, but they thought he was dead. But then he made a video saying I'm still alive or something. Like, yeah.
That's awesome because the tagline for the movie is that exact thing. It says they thought he was dead. He was just cooling off.
What, the second movie or the first movie?
No, the second movie. That's the tagline.
So maybe that's what it was. You know, maybe they just combined it. But yeah, that's crazy.
That's cool. Yeah. So when I looked at his credits, I thought he would have some other roles. He was only in like 3 movies.
Wait. You thought that his acting was so good that he would have other roles?
Well, there's some people in this movie that we'll get into that are in a lot of things that you can't believe it.
The one thing I do want to ask is, how do you audition for a movie like this? Because I can't imagine the audition process being that difficult.
I think because it was crowdfunded by like Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I'm sure a lot of these people maybe were sort of fans of the first one, or the director knew them or worked with them before, because there's a lot of people in this movie.
Well, another thing that I read was some of the people in the Kickstarter were actually in the movie.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's cool.
So, I mean, you know, but I mean, this might be one of the, if it was rated X for just the acting alone, it would fit because they acted as if they were like acting in a porno. Like that, it was just really, it was rough.
All right, well, let's get into it. So the beginning of the movie, they do a flashback to the first movie. And this is what's confusing because they show the flashback, and I don't know what happened to the girl that was in the first one, his girlfriend at the end. I don't know if she like died in real life or didn't want to do this movie because it is 24, 25 years later. So it's crazy because they sit on the park bench And then it cuts to like this totally different footage. And you're like, what's going on? And then randomly they're like saying that they love each other and he looks old. So you're like, when is this? But it's supposed to be 24 years ago.
He's not the only one that looks old in the movie. I mean, you know who really, and I know, you know what the budget was for this movie?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it was 1.5 million, right? Because I think I looked it up. Yeah. And you know who probably made a lot of money in this movie is probably the plastic surgeon that dealt with all the females. I mean, I shouldn't say all the females, but I would almost say almost all the females had some kind of work done. And yeah, we'll get into that.
Well, I'm going to say right now, I don't think Christine DeBelle or Lisa London have had any work done.
But Lisa London's the one that died.
Yeah, she had shut up.
Do you know who's supposed to play that role?
Who?
George Lazenby. I read. But he couldn't do it. I mean, I saw a video of it. But anyway, all right, let's get back in here. I'm sorry.
So they're sitting on this park bench. Yeah, I know people do look old, and I know obviously there's a lot of plastic surgeons that are working hard to help out a lot of people in this movie. But I'm saying in that what's supposed to be old footage, he looks. Again, that's all they could do. There's nothing you could do. But when the kid walks up, they're like, "I love you. I want to be with you forever." And this kid just walks up, points a gun at her, shoots her in the chest, and then she dies. And I'm like, when is this?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think, I think we got to explain that the movie does take place 25 years later. So, obviously he's playing that role, as a younger version of himself, but he definitely, you can see he's very weathered, throughout the whole movie.
Yes.
So to see him as a younger self, like they didn't even try to hide wrinkles or anything else. He just looked like an old man, with a long wig.
Yeah. And then just before he shoots her in the chest, maybe to catch them off guard because he is the samurai cop, the kid says, "Hey, mister, my sister just disappeared." And he's like, "Oh, well, where is she?" And then he pulls the gun out and shoots her in the chest.
Well, he also referred to him as a cop. How did he know he was a cop?
Ooh. Well, everybody knows samurai cop.
That's true.
Which, just to talk about the first one really quick, I watched it because I had to.
Oh.
He was only a cop in LA. He was a transfer for 2 weeks. And it's funny because later in the movie, they talk about him. Obviously, it was a big thing what he did at that time. But for 2 weeks, he's like a legend that people are talking about him 25 years later. I don't know. That's a little far-fetched. But anyway, the budget was $1.5 million. I would hope a lot of it went to the music. Because, dude, some of the songs were awesome.
I was going to say, so first of all, the movie looks like it's taking place like in the 50s or 60s, maybe. It looks like it because it's a B movie, but it was filmed in what, 2017 or 2016?
2015.
Okay. The music is very updated. I could be wrong. It almost sounded like DMX was on one of the songs.
I don't know. Maybe like his brother, like BMX. Because I don't know if they sounded like other artists, but like the song "I'm Just an Animal" that they played at bunch time, that was pretty badass. I like that song. There was like 3 or 4 songs I really liked in this movie.
Oh, 100%. I think that was the highlight. The songs definitely were the highlight of this movie.
All right. So we see a senator. We find out this guy's a senator in the next scene. He's about to sleep with a girl that is way out of his league, which, again, women sleep with ugly old men all the time. Maybe it's because, the heart wants what the heart wants, or the bank account.
Can we also just say that this is basically about 5 minutes after the first scene, and there's already nudity and sex? So
here's what's funny. So in my notes, if you were here, we were able to do it in person. I wrote down her boobs have lights, and then I'm like, then 10 minutes later, we see there's another scene like this, and I write, wait, what the hell's going on? And then I realized I was watching on Vudu. It was censored. So a lot of the fighting, even the action, was like cut out for some reason. So I don't know if I clicked on like a Mormon version or like, I don't know. It was weird.
Oh, so you
found the right one. Oh no, I found the right one. Yeah.
That's important.
I didn't do it for myself. I did it for the podcast. I'm dedicated and I made sure that I had to make sure I see it. But anyway, so when she sprays that like blue elixir into his mouth and he starts relaxing, and then she shoots him up with something else that had like these funky colors to it, like a heroin needle, but like for rich people. And then he dies right away.
Yeah. And the thing that she shot him with was a very high tech looking injection.
Especially that this is a samurai ninja movie. I thought she would like stab him with like maybe a sword.
And she sounded very intelligent when she was like repeating like what the plan was. Like she sounded like she was from Harvard. She was like in full detail of everything.
So here is one person that we've heard stories about from like another podcast that we love. How did this get made? Bei Ling, dude. I guarantee. I'll bet my life on it. One take. Every scene, one take. Dude, she's not even speaking English in some lines. She's just mumbling and kicking her feet up. It's wild.
She plays the same role in every movie. She was in, I believe, Crank 2. She played the same exact role. She's always just like a nutty, like, you know. She does a good job of it. To me, I think she was the best part of the movie.
Oh, she was awesome, and I love that they like the way movies should be. You know, like the different colors show evil. So when they were having the meeting at like the big evil dining room table, kind of looked like it was like in a like electric factory. The red tint, I don't know, it's just like pretty cool, and it was pretty cool to see like there's three badass. Well, there's more than three women, but there's like badass girls in this movie that are really like kicking ass.
Oh, it's all it's really all the girls. And the one thing one of the things I did question was, these are like all like Asian gangs, right? Like a lot of. There seems to be a lot of like Americans in all the Asian gangs.
Oh, that's not normal?
You've been in an Asian gang before?
Well, I tried out, but I couldn't do the backflip.
Oh, okay.
But you know what my favorite part about this movie is? And I feel like when they wrote the script, they took like their red marker and they added in like, they're like, oh yeah, let's add in Yokomuro and Tobiyashi. Because there were some times it was like the Tobiyashi Karaoke clan. And they were just adding in these lines and it just didn't sound right coming out of these people's mouths.
Wait, there was a script to this movie? Okay, because basically it looked like even the guy trying to speak Chinese or Asian was making gibberish up. So I almost question how much of a script was actually in the movie. They might have had a plot. I don't know about like dialogue. I think a lot of it was made up.
I know. You know who is great in this movie? And again, when you're in a movie that's a sequel, you have to recapture what you were in the first one. Even though we don't know if actor Mark Frazier, his thing changed, but his role as Frank, the way he delivers lines, dude, it's the same as the first one. And I think that's so cool.
Well, I mean, and he does a lot. I think he does a few times. He looks in the camera, like when he was with that woman.
Oh, dude, that's the best.
And she rolled over.
Our second adult film star. Oh no, yeah, second.
There's a few in there. I believe there's a few in there.
I read it on the internet. It's the only way I would know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So it's funny. This is somebody that we just had on an episode. Laurene Landon. She was in Airplane 2. She was the one that told the captain about that they're out of coffee, and then he goes nuts. So she's in this movie, and her character, the arc of this character in this movie, is mind-numbing because she's just a normal cop. She's Frank's partner, and then at the end of the movie, we'll get to it. It gets insane.
Well, she's insane. I mean, like she's like, it's again, like, and like you said, there's it seems like there'd be a lot of women here that have a lot of power, like, and they're like, they run the movie. I think they do more fighting than the main guy.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. His name's Joe Marshall.
Okay. I'm going to call him Al.
Weird Al. No, but so the next part is so bizarre. So you see Lisa London. She plays Master Kitano, which is great that you said George Lazenby was supposed to do it. She's sitting there talking to these people on this couch. And then we cut to Bei Ling, the actress, Lexi Bell, and then I forget the other girl's name. And they're sitting there, and this is when Bei Ling just goes into gibberish, and she goes, "Let's go, girl." She kicks her feet up, pulls out a machine gun, and then opens a curtain, and she's in that club where Lisa London and like Kitanos are, and then just starts lighting them up.
Yeah, she seems to be everywhere. I mean, we didn't talk about the plane scene.
Oh, that's a little bit later.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, she seems to be everywhere, just out of the blue, just like, but I also think there is a teleportation machine because it looks like there's one at the end of the movie to get to the lair. So maybe she's using that.
Dude, she is insane in this movie. Just that whole part. And then the floating ball we're introduced to for the first time.
Can I ask you what that was?
I don't know, but that is some kind of technology that they should be using in the army or something.
Yeah, but does it ever do anything?
I don't think it does anything. I think it's more of a distraction because I thought it was going to laser shoot people, but it really just shot out lasers. But I don't think they did damage.
It looked like that ball in like Star Wars when Luke Skywalker was training to use a lightsaber, and that little ball was flying. That's what it looked like.
Exactly. No, that's true. Maybe they got that from George Lucas.
They found it in an old lot, and they're like, hey, let's throw it in a movie. It might not mean anything, but let's try it. Looks cool.
Oh, that's awesome. So Frank and Laurene Landon, his partner, arrive. They start talking about this is like the third murder that's happened in the last month. And dude, Frank, of all the people in the movie that talk Japanese, Frank, for like a minute straight, every other word is a Japanese word. And it's amazing. It is so amazing.
Was he the guy at the end that he fights? No, who's the guy that like the other, like there was a white guy who was speaking Japanese.
Oh yeah. That guy was in Lisa London's.
Yeah.
gang.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When Frank, Frank, you know what? And I said it before, but Beiling, but I liked him also. I think his role is pretty good.
Oh yeah. No, Frank was great. So here's a really, did you scour IMDb while watching this movie?
I did.
All right. So you might know the next thing I'm going to say, but how about the captain?
I didn't, you know what? I didn't look at his name. He reminded me, first of all, he looked like Emilio Estevez, who is he related to them?
Yeah, it's Martin Sheen's brother, Joe Estevez.
I was going to say he looked like Martin Sheen and he looked like Emilio, but he acted like Lassard. Kind of like, and he's seen a lot in these movies. Like, how do these guys become captains? But yeah, I can't believe they were related because I didn't like, they looked like it, but I didn't even realize it.
When he looked like him, and then I looked up the name, I'm like, no way.
That's awesome.
I couldn't believe it. But he's been in a lot. Not honestly, the guy's always working. He plays a cop or a lawyer or something like that a lot, but not anything I really saw. But what was cool was he was in a Martin Sheen movie from the 70s. I forget what it is, but he has like a little voiceover role in it. I'm like, that's pretty cool, helping his brother out. No, I thought that was a pretty cool connection.
Who do you think is a better actor, Martin or that guy?
Oh, by far this guy, man. Yeah. Martin didn't have the chops. I heard he auditioned and they're like, oh wait, wrong Estevez. Wrong Estevez here.
I actually laughed at him. Because he's so over the top as the captain. I did laugh, but man,
did you laugh when he said my new favorite line? I need you on this case like I need fleas on my asshole.
I need you on this case like I need fleas circling my asshole.
He seems like he's like wired. He just seems like he's just very hyper.
Yeah, and then the best part about this movie is the cutaways. Sometimes they make no sense. We'll talk about one of them now. So from that, it just cuts. And dude, it's chick on chick on chick. And Bei Ling, dude, she's in the middle of it. I don't know if the third girl is a porn star, but when I saw, that's what I thought. I'm like, all right, if the other girl's a porn star, then her and the other porn star just like kiss or whatever. But Bei Ling's just all in that.
But she's very sexual in all her movies. She's always like that.
That was surprising.
Yeah. And it made no sense. Like, it was just, you know what it is? It was like, all right, you know what? 10 minutes went by. We haven't seen boobs in a while. So let's throw another scene in there.
Yeah. And then from that, it just cuts to something else. It cuts to Christine DeBelle, who we interviewed last week. And she is helping Frank out. She gives him the information on where the medallions are that they were finding all the crime scenes. And so this is pretty awesome. This is pretty great. So Frank goes to this warehouse where they have a lead. It's a random warehouse. He's by himself, and I know you just hear somebody working, and friggin' Joe Marshall, man, there he is working, dude. So he disappeared from the police force after his wife, I don't know if they're married yet, girlfriend gets murdered, and that's his job. And I love when Frank makes fun of him because he's like, "So this is what you're doing? You're not even Japanese."
Well, let's not forget how he first sees him. He looks like a Jedi. He's got the robe on, the hood on, over his face, so you don't know who it is. And he's living in a warehouse with like no lights on. Like that's how he's living. That's how 25 years. That's how he's been spending his life.
And he swore off fighting. because his girlfriend got shot. He swears off fighting because he thought the whole time he's like, she got killed because of me. And look at that. He gave up and he's in this he's got to be depressed. I don't know if he gets out enough. His tan's pretty good. His tan's way too good for being in a warehouse like that.
Well, maybe he's got like a sun lamp.
Yeah. And then it's funny. I wrote down, he says he swore off fighting. 2 seconds later, he's fighting. And then my favorite part is because he hasn't fought in a while, is when he gets cornered, his eyes are going crazy, and Frank mows down 6 guys.
He's got crazy eyes throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. So movies have been around for a long time, right? Ninja gangs have been in movies for a long time. Has there ever?
Never.
In real life?
We're talking about with guns?
No, I'm just saying, not even guns. They should use guns, but I'm saying, has there ever been a real ninja gang in the United States?
I don't think so.
Like the Foot Clan? That's not real.
No, but I also don't think ninjas ever use guns. Then what's the point of being a ninja? In any movie, I don't think a ninja's ever used a gun, and they use the guns in this movie.
I know.
First of all, there's really not a lot of like karate or kung fu in this movie. There's a lot of just punches and a couple of kicks here and there. And I think, the fact that they fast forward every single fight on speed, that's makes it look like the karate, but I'm questioning if anyone actually knows the art.
Yeah, there was a beginning to be a good fight scene when Joe first start fighting, because he grabs the big metal chain link and he starts fighting the guy and he flips the guy's legs and he does like a flip, but then it just is over pretty quick after that. So here's a part that I could talk to you about this for like 7 hours, because the airplane scene.
This scene it was, first of all, I was confused, but this scene was ridiculous. First of all, they're all on the same plane somehow. Like they all on the same plane. It looks like a massive plane, but it's super small. You have now, I guess, Bai Ling and her. Then you have the 2 girls with her, like as 2 henchwomen.
Yeah,
selling cookies. Like, what was that about?
And kale chips.
And kale chips. And kale chips make a return later in the movie too.
Oh, I love that part. So they're on the plane. It's a small plane. Small plane. And every person that we've seen so far is on it.
All on the plane. As I said, everybody somehow is on the same plane.
And one guy that you didn't know from the first one, he was the stewardess, the waiter guy. He was in the first one.
You're calling the man a stewardess?
What is he? A flight
steward?
Attendant?
Is it a steward?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, steward. Well, he acted like a stewardess.
He did. No, he definitely did. So anyway, in the first one, he plays a waiter at a Japanese restaurant, and they talk to him before Joe and Frank talk to him, and he reveals his name. They go, "What's your first name?" And he says a really short name, and they go, "Last name," and he says like 7 words, and it's really long. And then he ends up being like some big arms dealer, and then we see him in this movie. He does something super different, but yeah, he's just hanging out on the plane.
A few times. He pops up a few times.
Yes, he does. So again, this plane's really small. The music kicks in. Fights start happening. Joe Marshall, punches Lexi Bell. She falls on the ground. The robot ball's in the sky, like floating around. And a bomb goes off. And an Asian guy with a gun in a suit goes, no balls on the plane. And he shoots it. And then an explosion happens, and then everybody's fine,
and everybody disappears. And Bai Ling goes, "All right, let's get out of here." Where are they going?
I don't know. And then Melanie, who Joe gets so much tail in the first one.
Well, I think he thought he could do it again in this movie, and because he definitely hit on a lot of girls, but I don't know.
It wasn't the same as now. Not the same like in the first.
But I mean, back to the ball. So, what did he mean by no balls on a plane? Has he seen that? Has he seen the thing before? Like, is that a common thing? that ball?
Maybe.
Or we just talk about men.
Ooh.
So maybe he thought it's only women are allowed on the plane.
Maybe he thought it was but he's on the plane.
Well, maybe he doesn't have balls.
He was castrated by the katanas. No, but I thought that was just so funny, that scene. So then Melanie, who he's like flirting with, she goes into his arms, and then Frank looks at Joe and says, you know what? We better just head into the office. And then they show the plane perfectly in mid-flight. Like, that plane has to land. Nobody's arresting the other people. Or
Yeah. No, I know.
I thought I hit something on the remote because I thought somehow I fast forwarded, but I didn't. They were just in the office randomly in the next scene.
Yeah. No, that whole scene did not make. And then, like, what was their point on the plane? Like, what was I was confused. Really, the plot in this whole movie. Like, I don't understand what were they aiming for? Like, I mean, the plot to me was, I have no idea. I just figured I just watching scene to scene.
Yeah, I'll take a stab at the plot because I don't want to reveal some things. I'll try to say what I think it is at the end, but no, you're right.
Okay.
So Melissa Moore's in this movie, who she's going to be in a future episode of ours, Sorority House Massacre 2. I'd love to be able to interview her, but she was in the first movie. Joe hooked up with her in the first movie. Within like 2 minutes of knowing her, it was insane. Yep. So she has like a quick cameo. She comes back. And one thing that's so stupid, so Melanie is getting interrogated, and Frank's giving her like the business, trying to figure out like why she was on the plane, because she was a plane. But obviously we know now everybody's bad guys who were on that plane pretty much. And then he goes, what do you do for a living? She goes, I'm an Oriental art dealer.
And I mean, I might be wrong, but is she the same actress that played his girlfriend in the beginning of the movie?
No, I think it is somebody else.
She looks exactly like her.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. But, to go back. So obviously Joe hooked up with Melissa Moore, I said in the beginning of the movie. So when he shows at her house, the best when the girl comes out, and Melissa Moore is like, hey, Joe, how you been? And she goes, are you my daddy?
Are you my daddy?
He's like, whoa. And then she does another thing too. She shoehorns in about 17 Japanese words in 2 minutes.
Again, well, I'm gonna something I read. So, and I'm assuming this might have been with everybody else. So the guy with the Walkman who he fights at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
The one, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay. So as an actor, he wanted to speak Japanese. He wanted to speak Japanese, you know. So they said, the director's like, all right, go ahead. Then after a while, as they were getting closer to filming, he's like, I can't learn it. And it was like too late. So then the guy goes, the director's like, you know what? Just start speaking gibberish. So the whole movie, that's why he sounds like he's just doing, like, anyone who ever tries to make fun of like that kind of like talk or, you know, Asian talk does the same thing. That's what he's doing. He's made it up himself.
Oh my God. That's great. That's great. That's good research. So you're right. Yeah. Caden Cross, who plays Melanie, and she does play Jennifer in the beginning. She is also an adult film star. So it's number 3 so far.
Well, you're counting them as if they, you know, they're not good actors.
Oh, I think an Emmy should be given to, I think Lexi Bell was great in this movie, and she was great at the end.
Wait, Emmy? Why would it be an Emmy? Is it not TV?
Oh yeah, an Oscar.
Okay. Well, was this movie a made-for-TV movie?
I'm sure it was shown in a movie theater.
No, maybe the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. So when this is another note. So Joe gets invited into Melissa Moore's house, and they're talking, and what the hell? She randomly just pulls out 2 glasses of wine from underneath, and she has pasta ready for him.
I wrote that down. I'm like, she just has a cooked meal right under the counter.
Yeah. All right, so here is the man who became a legend, obviously, in the last few years. Everybody knew the movie The Room, but dude, Tommy Wiseau. Holy shit.
Are you talking about Ozzy?
Yeah.
He looked exactly like Ozzy Osbourne with the glasses, the long hair. Yeah, you know, I didn't know much about him. I remember when I looked up his name, I knew I recognized the name. I couldn't figure out where. I never saw The Room, but I know he would. Okay. Yeah, but I heard that he would. You know, that's his name. That's where it came from. But yeah, he. I don't know if you want to consider it overacting or he was really going for that. You know, the Oscar, because every scene he was in.
Yes, and Lisa London's dead body is just sitting there, and he's just going nuts, breaking everything in the room. And I guarantee they were probably like, dude, we got to return that. That's only a lease. He was just shattering everything. I'm like, dude, this guy just, he goes 120%, man.
Well, I thought he took it well. I thought he took the death well. It's funny. When she was sitting there, I was confused because I thought she was alive, because the way he had her propped on a chair was like she was watching him.
Yeah. So I love, this might have been one of the guys you were talking about, like the people that were on the Kickstarter, the Indiegogo, paid enough money, they were in the movie. The one guy's line when they're just talking, he goes, Ginzu knives make great stocking stuffers. Just out of nowhere, they're having like a conversation, and then they start fawning over Joe. Again, he worked there for 2 weeks, and they remember him from 24 years ago.
Well, I mean, look at him. Are we at that one scene with the two guys fighting in the office? Remember the two cops that were fighting, like they were arguing?
Oh, yeah, those are the two guys. I think they fought right after that, yeah.
Okay, the one guy getting choked, did you happen to see his face, like how he was acting? He was acting as if, like, I don't know if you remember, wrestling, when there was a scene when Andre Giant, I think it was Andre Giant, was choking an announcer, and his head was just bobbling all over the place. You were thinking like this guy was being the life choked out of him. The overacting in this one scene, you got to go back and look at it, was ridiculous. He even looked at the camera. So.
So Bailing's boss in this movie, I don't have his name. Oh yeah, Fujiyama. He's in the first one too, a lot younger, and he's pretty good. But he has some great lines in that one and this one. He tells Bailing that I want Marshall dead. More than dead. What's more than dead? I don't think there's more to it.
Deader?
What's deader?
More than dead.
So Joe, who swore off fighting and seemed like he lived in a warehouse, either had that apartment or just that was, again, way outside of the city. So it was far away. So he had a far commute to work. Or he just got an apartment that fast. And do you notice any of the stuff he was watching on TV?
Yeah, the whole TV stuff was confusing too. I mean, are we talking about just like the normal shows or the ones that he somehow popped in?
Oh, the popped in one, like the one where there's a construction worker that's pissing in his own beer mug.
Yeah, at the bar. I guess I realized that later on in the movie they kind of explained what happened, but like they didn't do a good job explaining it in the beginning of what he was seeing, because I thought he was watching like old videos of himself.
Yeah, I know. It was just out of nowhere. You just flip in the channels and you see that. You're like, what the hell is going on right now?
And it happens multiple times.
Oh, yeah. And then you're right. Then he is on TV. Then there's flashback footage of him. Yeah.
And what was the time frame from the airplane scene to like where they are now?
It seems like it's only a couple days, because Melanie is, again, I don't know if they had a conversation like where she lives, but she's living at his place.
That's what I mean. Like they seem to like, they kind of had like a montagey kind of thing where they were, just, I guess they're dating and like, I'm like, he just met her on the plane. Like how many days have gone by? Like they were like in a relationship already.
No, I know. It was weird. And then that whole time I'm like, I thought they had a connection. I was like, man, I don't know. It was weird. I didn't know what it could have been.
And she wasn't bad looking.
Oh, she's not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
So then we cut back. They show Tommy Wiseau again. He's acting again. He's like in a fog and he's about to chop some guys. Seems like he's going to chop his head off. And again, he has those goggles. He looks like a steampunk. Like, dude, he just looks crazy. And he's screaming and yelling in the guy's face. The other guy's screaming that's on the ground. And then they just slice the guy. They gut him. So what nationality is he? Tommy Wiseau? Oh, dude. I would say like Eastern European.
Okay, so they're like in this. Are they considered a Chinese gang that he's in? I guess
Japanese
gang. Okay, so you have the boss is a woman, American woman, and then you have an Eastern European guy is like one of the next in charge or whatever, like in a Japanese gang.
I know.
And then you have the bunch of the henchmen are American. Like I mean, like there were no Japanese actors they could have used.
No, even the first one they did not go that route. It was not that. So you mentioned before there was that rom-com montage between Joe and Melanie. The best was he's having like this great time with her, and then he has a flashback of him and his dead wife, and that was just. And then the line he says to her, he goes, "Do you ever think about going blonde?" That was like psycho.
Yeah, no, he I almost think he has too many like slow scenes for this movie. Than actual fighting. Like, I mean, I really expected him to do a lot more. Like, maybe I'm thinking of like the American Ninja movies that starred that, that other guy, the American guy who just, it was nonstop action. Here, like, I feel like he tries to act almost too much.
Yeah, no, I know. But that's what makes B movies because people are acting to be that. But there was definitely more in the first one. It was more like he would hook up with a girl, fight scene. Hook up with a girl, fight scene. But now this one was totally different.
Well, it looks like, I mean, they used a lot of clips from the first movie in this one too. Like it's like it's like I guess they're trying to catch what worked in the first one with those clips because I don't like it was just weird. So many flashbacks of the first movie. Like it's almost like they went about it wrong because if you keep reminding people about the first movie why it was so good, you're taking away from the movie you're trying to let people to enjoy.
No, that is true. Or they needed to, honestly, maybe they needed to fill time.
Fillers?
I guess because his wife got killed, it makes sense. But they definitely used way too much of it. So here's another weird cut to. It was right after he said, "Melanie, you should go blonde." It cuts to him and Frank in a hotel room looking at ninjas on a roof. It made no sense. They were like in the front of the building and there was some on the roof and he's just looking. And then Joe's like, "I'm going to go in." And Frank gives him a flower that has a microphone in it, but he doesn't put it on the back. He puts it in his shirt. So what's the point of it being in a flower if he's not going to display it?
Well, again, I wonder if they did like a lot of one cuts for this movie and, maybe he grabbed it by, put it in the wrong spot and they let's just go with it. Like it's, cause I mean, even like the backdrops and like the green screens or whatever, like it just, I would wonder how many takes they've done in a lot of these scenes because there's a lot of mistakes. Even the first one
didn't do that many takes. I think that's
what I mean. Because even the first one, his wig falls off in one fight scene.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. So there's like this again big fight scene. I'm waiting for it to happen, and then it just stops. He's fighting with the guy on the roof. He fights with the guy in the hallway. Then it's over, and then he composes himself, and he goes to the restaurant. And dude. I wrote the line down. "Do you want fresh kale chips from Portland, Washington?" And he looks at him. He like looks awkward, and he goes, "You need to study your Pacific Northwest." And then the guy that was the maitre d', I don't know if you ever seen him before. His name's Ralph Garman. He's good buddies with Kevin Smith.
Is he the one that he meets right away in the restaurant? The first guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hollywood Babylon is their podcast.
Okay.
And they talk about Hollywood stuff. But yeah, when I saw him, I'm like, dude, I know that guy. And he was just like, and he was just trying to like get so much out of Joe. And it just like, it was just too much.
Well, didn't he, when he walked away, he goes, "Oh yeah, thanks for the great conversation." Because Joe wasn't like, he wasn't even paying attention to him at all.
He's like, "Do you want a table? What are you doing here? Like, do you want to look at the menu?" And Bailing, dude, she's insane again. Didn't she tell Joe that he should leave? Because people are about to die, and then she licks his face. That was not in the script.
She didn't. It wasn't.
Oh, I don't know, but there was no script.
Oh, yeah. Well, but didn't she recognize him from the plane? Like, didn't they recognize each other from the plane? There was only like 7 people on the plane. First of all,
I know.
And it was funny. Is this where she walked in with something around her face, like she was covering her face when she first walked in?
Yep.
And then she walks by the camera. She lowers her scarf to show that it's her and then puts it back up and walks away. So the audience knows that's Bailing.
Good, because I didn't know until she did that. She has a great line. She goes, "I am the queen of death. Kiss my ass, sisters." And then she cackle laughs. And then big fight scene again with the girls. Again, cool. They are getting all the action in.
They are. And, the fight scenes, because they are on fast forward. They look like Benny Hill, kind of like if Benny Hill made a fight scene, they look like this.
Yeah. That'd be great to put the fight scene with the Benny Hill music.
I bet you would fit.
I think it might have to try that. So this is where a big reveal happened. So we see Melanie and she's blonde. And I'm like, oh, she freaking did what Joe said. I didn't even think of her in the beginning of the movie because they show that footage one more time at the end. But I'm like, dude, are you kidding me right now? And then you find out she's bad.
Yeah.
She's just leading Joe along.
And he fell in love within like 2 days. Now if this is a guy that's a womanizer in the first movie, he was kind of like a schlep in the second one.
He kind of was. Maybe because he was in that warehouse for so long, he lost the woman he loved. He probably didn't bang in 24.
Well, he's also how old is he? In the 60s? 70s maybe? I mean, the 60s. So
70s.
Well, there's a lot of people in this movie that look like they're in the 70s. But I mean, maybe he figures like, listen, I'm in my mid to late 60s. You know what? I find a attractive girl that's actually likes me. I'm going to have to, I'm going to fall in love right away.
Yeah. And then he doesn't care when he sees that it's her. Because there's a scene when he's talking to Frank and he's like, I haven't seen her in a few days. And then this happens and he goes, come on, Melanie. He's like, the corporations, the corruption, the government. He's just throwing all these things that people hate. And he's like, let's just run away. And it's funny. Again, he was a cop only for like 2 or 3 weeks. And he's just ready to get out of it. And then, dude, how about the sex scene with Melanie?
The sex scene, not to mention the sex scene, but then also he's like he's resting her head on her implant. Did you see when he was
doesn't move?
It doesn't move at all.
It's definitely plastic, like fully plastic.
Well, that scene they tried to make it as, I guess, sexy and like romantic as possible, and it wasn't. It's just like I just can't. He is a weird looking guy. Because he's older with that long hair. It just looks ridiculous.
Find out later, obviously, we'll mention a little bit now. He's being drugged by her this whole time. So now it makes sense, but we didn't know watching it then. He's having this vision. While he's having sex, he looks over and it's this guy in like all Japanese, like
the Shogun kind of like armor.
Yeah, in that garb, 2 naked women sword fighting. And then nowhere, the guy in the Japanese garb takes the mask off. It's Joe watching himself have sex. And then they both start screaming.
There's a lot of screaming in this movie too. Yeah. But see, they didn't explain that until later. So like I said, he saw himself on multiple times on TV. It was just like, I was so confused up, all this time. Like, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, no, that is true. So then the most random cut, again, they go for this craziness. So they cut from that to showing like a glacier and a big like snow mountain, okay? And then they show people indoors talking like this is the Ginzu clan talking. And I'm like, dude, where the hell are these guys? It seemed like another part of the world.
Well, I think we missed it already, but when they were introducing some of the new clans and they had that one big guy who was walking in Japan with the city behind him with the green screen.
Yeah, that was so bad.
It was almost like a video game kind of like it was so ridiculous.
Yeah. God, I love that. So then right after that, Joe and Nick, they're arguing with each other. And this is where I was talking about. They made they're sitting at the bar and they made the footage look bad by just putting lines on it. And how about the guy coming over and he goes, hey man, you're Joe Marshall. You're that guy from 24 years. It's like, we already have that line. We don't need that exposition now, but he's like, yeah, man, you like fought the gangs. Like, what are you up to now? And then the girl's boyfriend is basically like, she goes, hey man, your partner's hot. What the fuck is that?
and like you said, they had the lines across the screen like they're watching an old-fashioned TV. That's what it seemed like. So I wasn't sure if that was a real scene or not, or you were still thinking that. Like, it was just, why were they doing that? Like, what was the point of that?
I think to make it look like the missed footage from the first one, because in the first one, there's a lot of scenes that I think the footage was exposed, so there's like a lot of dots on it. So maybe they're going for that look.
They do a great job explaining that.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts we didn't talk about was obviously we know that, Tommy Wiseau is in a Japanese gang, but his name is Mr. Kitano. Because this is the first time they call him that. Because earlier we know Lisa London, who gets murdered, her name is Kitano. She's Master Kitano. So I didn't know if they're related or what the whole thing was. But yeah,
Well,
that was bizarre that his name's Master.
all the American people in the movie that were in the Asian gangs all have Japanese names.
I know, but I didn't know if that was like.
Oh, you thought they were related?
And,
But maybe that's part, like when you're into that gang, you get that like surname or something, where, whatever your name is, Kitano, like your last name would be, so it'd be like Joe Kitano.
yeah, but if somebody works for the new president of Google, is a Mr. Google.
Yeah, but the president of Google isn't in a Japanese gang. You're comparing you're comparing Google to a Japanese gang?
No, I'm just saying if it's like a gang, I wouldn't think that the person that gets the top title, that's your name now.
Well, I've got news for you. You didn't make the gang because you couldn't do a flip. So how do you know? Yeah. So how do you know about the insides of how gangs work?
Just it's still rough. I still have visions of it.
If we have any gang members that listen to this, please call in.
Oh, please, Japanese specifically.
Yeah.
So how about when dude? What about again? Sometimes in a movie a guy's going to be evil. Good movie, bad movie, great movie, Oscar-winning movies. Like this guy's shady. How about the guy that came in from the FBI to take over for the case? He goes, "Hello, my followers."
He looked a little like Regis.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
And again, another guy that made the plastic surgeon some money. I mean, he looks so plastic, his face, like ridiculous.
He melts. He cannot go in the sun.
He does melt.
Yeah. So how about then right there if they cut, because Joe Estevez, the captain, he takes the badge. He goes, "You guys are off this case." And how about they cut right away and they're at a bar, but it seems like they're in a basement.
Yeah. Frank, before they go to that, Frank might have won the Oscar for this scene. When they took his badge away, he was distraught. Like he was almost crying about that scene, about that.
I've been working on this for 24 years. Nobody else knows the Japanese gangs like I do.
But his voice like kind of whimpered down, like he was almost crying as he was saying it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
But he met him. Marshall met him at the bar, right? Like he said, "I knew you'd be here."
Yeah, and I thought it was like in a basement. I'm like, well, of course he'd be here. You're at his house or something. No, it wasn't that.
And it's a very small bar. Like it's just like it was very like I feel like every room, outside of Joe, I guess Marshall's warehouse, living, place, everything's small. Like I'm assuming they're not using studios.
Oh, I'm sure it is in a studio. They built little sets to make.
You think
it easier. They just
a movie like this has a studio?
Oh yeah, they just get some airplane hangar or something like that, and they just use. They could like build just like a. You got to think. You're right. All those scenes, even like the evil boss scene when they're at that dining room table, it's just a dining room table with walls around it. So they could do that in a warehouse. Like you can do it in somebody's garage.
That's what I'm saying. For this type of budget, I can't imagine them, spending the money to like build a set. Like they're probably like houses. They're probably someone's basement. So the bar scene and the diner scene all in the basement.
Yeah. And then the fighting happens. Again, the gang is there. Another fight scene. Again, disappointing. I wanted more.
Right. But a great one line came out of this fight scene with Frank.
Oh yeah?
When he hits the guy with the phone, and he goes, "Sorry, wrong number," and he hangs up.
That's a good one.
He beat the guy up with a phone in his hand. He was wailing him with the phone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I didn't write that one down.
And this is where Marshall fights the girl. Right? Isn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, the Asian girl.
No, the blonde or what? He punches her. And then she smiles. She gets up when he leaves.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was that? So like they were like a quick little fight. He knocks her down, and then she just gets up and smiles.
No, I know. And she comes back later in the movie. So now I totally forgot about that part. Yeah. So that's weird. But this like sets Joe off. Then he does a lot of training on the beach, sword training, kind of like montage going. So one thing I didn't remember from the first one, because I watched it in like pieces, but why the hell were they talking about some map? It must have been in the first one. I just didn't see it.
Right.
Kept talking about a map. And then they brought back a guy from the first one, which was so amazing. The guy who gets his arm chopped.
And he was a bad guy in the first one, right?
Yeah, now he's a good guy. And he even said, I'm so glad that he's probably like, I'm so glad I was back in this movie to get a paycheck. But he was like, I'm so happy that I saw the error of my ways and now I can be a good guy.
And his hand, so he's got one arm because I guess it got chopped off for the first movie.
Yeah.
That fake hand, what like that looked like it was regular hand with a rubber glove on it.
Like something from the dollar store.
And then doesn't he have a one-liner when he leaves?
Yeah,
I thought he said.
I know he did. He goes, you know what? I would give you a hand, but and then it stopped, and then it cut away. That was it. And then it cuts to the song, which I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna try to find it, and then like add it randomly throughout this whole thing. I am an animal. It sounded like some kind of 80s, like early 90s vibe. It was.
So, okay, so when did this movie supposed to take place? Like, I know it's 25 years later than the first movie, but even so, when did that? First of all, no one looked like they aged at all, and the first one was what, 2015?
What do you mean nobody aged at all?
I'm talking about from considering like they showed the clips of the first one, like when he was on the bench, even Frank or whatever, that was 25 years later.
Oh, Frank's definitely a lot older. You got to see him in the first one. He's so young.
Was he in the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, so the same actors. Okay, I was confused because when is this supposed to take place? Like what? Like
present day in that time.
So 2017 is supposed to take place around then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I felt like it was like
just in the underground West Coast. It's funny that they talk about the Pacific Northwest, but the movie's set in L.A., but he's from San Diego. They just used like all the major cities and just wanted to like shoehorn all those names in. But so Joe now. This is like big. He's like, I'm going to go kick some ass. So he goes and it's like, he knows where their lair is, the Katanos. And there's a gatekeeper, some Asian woman. And I'm thinking, dude, awesome fight scene's about to happen. Some wild's going to happen. Dude, he slices her in half.
Okay. So this is the scene with the second scene with a great green screen, correct? Like the background of this fight. So he's on it. Is he like near their lair? Is that where the fight is taking place?
She's the gatekeeper. So that's supposed to be like a gardener, like something behind her.
So let me ask you. So they show you the scene of where the lair is, and it looks like it's in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Like there's nothing around. Yet he's fighting the gatekeeper with a backdrop of a forest.
I know they do that, and then the next room, it's almost like one of those like haunted houses. Each room you go into, it's a different place. Because then the next room's like a glow like club, stuff like glowing in the dark, and
this is where I mentioned before. He steps out of like a portal, like a teleport machine. Like that wasn't a door. That was like it was just so like, what are they going for? Like, let's just try to make it as crazy as possible. Because it looked like, you're right, it looked like a music park with like lights flashing, and like I think there was like some kind of kaleidoscope behind him, and like
it was like just a straight up bad green screen, because it did look like he did come through like some portal. He definitely did not come through a portal, and he destroys all those guys. And then here's the guy you're talking about. He fights the white Asian guy.
Yes, this is the guy that yells and speaks Spanish. Oh, it's Spanish. I don't know where that came from. Speaks Japanese. He reminded me of the way he spoke Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And like I said, this is the guy that he wanted to only speak Japanese in the movie. And it was an earlier scene where he's wearing Walkman. Like I listened to a Walkman, and he's got Japanese music on, and he's singing in Japanese, and he's talking Japanese now and screaming in Japanese, but it's all gibberish. It's like he's like, if you're gonna make fun of an Asian how they speak, that's how he's talking.
Do you think before he like went on to set for like the first day or his audition, he listened to the Vapors? I'm turning Japanese. You think I'm turning Japanese? Oh yes, I think so. So anyway, one of his subtitles said, "They shall drink my piss," and right after that, Joe just destroyed him, because he kind of got a couple shots in, and then once he said that and Joe was on the ground, he just destroys him right away, and then just massive death happens.
Massive deaths, but I also feel that like you think like, right, here's the buildup. Like he really hasn't fought that much in this movie, and now he's like, all right, he's like, it's like he's in a video game. He's going through each bad guy, to get to the boss, and all these fights are kind of quick. They're all like very quick.
Now they are too quick. I again, you'd hope that one is long, but we don't really get that. There's not that one long fight scene, but at least one of them should have been. There should have been like a bigger guy. So Robert Zadar, who was the guy with the chin in Tango and Cash, he was in the first Samurai Cop. He was supposed to come back and reprise his role, and he has like that, just that size to him, and you're like, dude, this guy, you know, that's a guy. Him and Joe have a great fight scenes in the first one, so that would have been cool. But he didn't have like that guy that you thought he couldn't beat. All these people were smaller than him. So why not?
Did he kill him in the first one?
Oh, I don't think so, because he was coming back. That'd be weird.
Well, really? For this movie? Like, you put it past them?
That'd been great if he was like, he had an eye patch. He's like, oh, that's his brother. I killed you 17 years ago. He's like, yeah, but I'm his twin brother you never knew about. I'm a bad boy. So the FBI guy is already here. He's evil. We obviously know. He dies.
Well, within seconds. So like he comes there with his henchmen, and he dies by. Does he die by Ling? Is that how? Like they all get shot? Shoots them all. Yeah, they all get shot. Okay. So like he comes in there, like, you know, and dies within seconds of being there. So that was kind of even a waste to have, just to show that he was a bad guy, I think. Just to, you know. So now you got the big fight with Bai Ling. You know, and, you know, like I said, she plays the same role. She's always very sexual in every movie. And even as she's fighting him, she's still like, you know, being sexual.
Yeah. And then while they're fighting, they have like there's a cut to a sex scene of them. So what was that? Did they just connect on some emotional level when he like had her like kind of like it was kind of like a head, like kind of like a headlock, but with the sword, and then it went to a sex cut.
Well, he was trying to reason with her. He did say, you know, come on, do the right thing. You know, the whole movie she's killing 1,000 people, but now she's gonna start doing the right thing.
And it looks so bad when he stabbed her in the stomach.
Oh my gosh! It
was this really bad digital blood. And then before that, another chick came in. I forgot which one it was.
Oh, you know what? The blonde. He basically she looked like a badass. They were fighting, and then he gives her one little headbutt, and then she falls on the ground and knocks her out. And then stabs her like with 2 knives.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, he took her 2 little like hand knives. They look like Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but like small,
mini ones.
Yeah, and just like stabbed her in the stomach. Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
right.
The other one that could have been so good.
Yeah. I thought that was gonna be a little better because she came in with a lot of potential. That one. I think that's the blonde that he fought earlier, right? Wasn't it the one that? Yeah. Yep. So you mentioned the Bai Ling, the great graphic blood they showed. It looked like it was a running faucet of blood coming out of her back. Yeah.
Dude, that was insane. But here's the most insane thing of any movie I think we ever covered. And we've covered Terror Toons 3, which has some insane stuff in it. A boob that takes over a city. But nothing is as good as Laurene Landon with a samurai sword just taking people back. And how about Frank? He goes, what's that? Why don't you use your gun? She's like, no, this is I feel like she says this is like my issued sword from the police department. Like something crazy.
Yeah. I mean, was she in the first movie?
No.
Okay. Cause I almost like, she seemed to have some kind of samurai background. Like, you know, like, and what was she wearing? like, you know, like a leather, like, I don't know. Like, it was
like
just
the Cinemax After Dark collection. She looked like she just went to like any lingerie store and something in a display. She put it on. But dude, she's slicing people in half that we don't even see on camera, barely. She's like just like doing it. It's probably CGI blood coming out. And then Frank shoots in the middle of like a wall and some guy falls. And you're like, God.
Well, don't forget, like Frank shot a lot of people in this movie. There was a scene that when we talked about, there was a scene, I think we skipped over it a little bit when I forget where they were, where basically Marshall is hiding the whole time with the girl.
We talked about that. When he's hiding with the girl?
Yeah, he didn't fight once. Like he was hiding that's a club scene. He didn't fight in that scene, right? When she was shooting it up, when she warned him, he was hiding the whole time. He didn't fight once.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Frank comes in and it shoots the one guy, and the scene ends.
Yeah, and earlier when Joe gets cornered in the warehouse, Frank shoots 6 guys in that whole scene. I'm like, man, this guy's kill count, dude. He's leading by far. Yeah,
you would think the main guy Marshall would have had the most kills. He doesn't. He has the least amount of kills, I think.
Yeah. No, here's the Laurene Landon line. It wasn't a company issued her. She says this is her good luck sword.
Why are you using that medieval thing? Because it brings me good luck, Frank. Shogun Takada gave this to me.
So she's almost like the Tackleberry of that force.
She is a tackle boy. She owns that. She was like, you know what? Let me put the gun down today. Let me use a sword. So anyway, so Tommy Wiseau looks like the Hamburglar in this final scene. Why did he change his eyewear?
Yeah, I think because, again, he's the main bad guy for a Japanese clan. He doesn't show his face in the whole movie.
He doesn't. Now that is true.
So maybe, and he does a lot of screaming. And you know, it's funny. I believe like this part of the movie with him and the way he was talking and yelling reminded me of like a high school play. Like a kid in a high school play, you know, got the big speech that he's doing, and it just seemed like it was a high school play. Like that's how the acting was in the scene.
But I believe that love is one continuous stream, which is never ends. It is to love, to experience alternate love. That what drives us all, is it, Joe?
And I'll run with that. He didn't know it's kid in high school play, doesn't know his lines, and never held a sword before. Because the sword fighting scene with Joe, Joe seems like at least he practiced before. Maybe from the first one, maybe he had some like swordsmanship training, something, because he can move it around. He's twirling it, and all he's doing is meeting his sword, and then sparks fly.
That you know, that's part of the high school play. Like it looked like if there was like in a scene like with sword fighting in a high school play, this is what it looked like. So between the speeches and the play, and then the 15 minutes of dialogue that we had to sit through was like torture. This was like a high school play, you know, and it's like I felt like I was. You know, my children were in this play. They had like a 3-minute scene, but I had to stick to the end to watch 15 minutes of someone else's kids.
That's great. And I love Tommy Wiseau's line. He goes, "Your mother will not recognize you." And then he dies pretty quick. There was like nothing to it.
No, he didn't die.
Tommy Wiseau? Yeah, he gets stabbed.
Yeah, but he doesn't die. Remember, he was in a killer, and then she comes in. She goes, "He's my brother. Don't kill him."
Oh, I thought he was still bleeding out. We didn't see him like.
Well, he was bleeding out. But now she does come in and say, "He's my brother." Correct?
Yeah, and that's what you're right. Yeah. So then he gives Tommy a sword, a little sword.
Yep.
So they're about to do the Japanese like falling on the sword thing.
Right.
And Joe's on top of him with a sword, looking like he's gonna like spike him in the head with it. Yeah. And then Melly comes in, reveals this is Tommy's sister, and then Joe friggin' kisses her. Man, why?
He also wasn't the only one to kiss her. How'd the movie end? She kissed her brother.
Oh, I forgot about that.
She was making out with him. That was the last scene.
And why is she wearing lingerie?
Yeah. Well, you know why? Because she was offset, and the director said, "Listen, your scene's coming up," and she was in the middle of changing, so she had to run back out.
and then that's how it ends, right? The credits roll.
The credits roll, and you know, usually like the good movies have those like end credit scenes. This one has about 4 of them. Like this might be the original end credit kind of, you know, movie, because this
Avengers
had like
might have stole from this.
I think so.
But yeah, so Joe Marshall's basically like, Frank's like, "Hey, let's go back to the station." He's like, "You know what, man? I'm just gonna hang here. You guys take the taxi." And it's that guy from the airplane, the flight attendant, waiter. He does it all. And he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna hang back." And he goes, "What are you gonna do? You're gonna take it on all by yourself?" He goes, "You know, that's how I work best." And then I'm like, "Oh, maybe a third one. Maybe that happens." And then when the cab drives off, the blonde who he fought at the bar, headbutted, she comes out from a fence and she goes, "I don't want to be bad anymore." And then they zoom in and it looks like she reaches down. She goes, "I'll keep you warm." And then Joe looks at the camera, breaks the fourth wall, says, "Bingo." And then the credits roll again. And this is the credits that show, was this the credits that shows the actors in their photo? Or was that the one before? Okay.
No. That might have been before. That was before. Because you're coming up to one more. So there were three scenes. And then, so now you see regular credits coming. So who's sticking around for now? Was this movie in a theater?
I'm sure there was in some theaters like those Alamo draft houses like those, but dude, the end scene, and they cut it too quick on the version that I watched. I saw the end, but they didn't cut her off talking, but she was done talking. Then the movie ended. It should have been, but yeah, Lexi Bell, who is one of the bad in Biling's gang. I guess maybe she's the only one that survived. She's standing on top of it looks like a dumpster.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
like
a container, those containers. Yeah.
She goes, "It's not over, Joe Marshall." And I'm like, wow, man. So that's it. So that is Samurai Cop 2 Deadly Vengeance. So again, going into this, we talk about movies, we joke about them. This movie was going for this. It's not like they were sitting there like, you know what, we're going to make a great movie, and they completely flopped. But there were a lot of issues with it. But Jamie, did you at least have fun watching it?
I'm going to be honest. I really didn't. I'm not into these kind of movies. And, I know obviously there's a following. I mean, to get 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, there's obviously a huge following. I get what they're going for. There's so many movies out there like this. What makes me laugh is, we always bring up The Mask, The Son of the Mask. We always bring up as one of the worst movies, or Caddyshack 2. And the funny thing is, those are bad movies. This is a bad movie, but this movie is supposed to be bad. Like, they're making fun of themselves, where those movies were not supposed to be bad and they're bad. So I did not enjoy it. I don't like these kind of movies, but I would recommend it to anyone who does like the campy B movies, because if you do, then you're going to love this movie. It is what it is. I think I would have enjoyed it more if there was more action and less dialogue.
No, I agree too. I wish there was more just longer action scenes. I don't know why they wouldn't have done that, but I thought it was pretty cool for a movie, especially at the end that I saw was like an Indiegogo and Kickstarter campaign that they raised 1.5 million. I don't know if they raised 1.5 from that or they had some other people that invested in it, but it was just cool seeing some of the people, especially the timing of, I didn't know Christine DeBelle was in this movie until, because when I emailed her, she goes, "Oh, I'm not in any sequels." And she probably just forgot about that because it was, even though it was only like 5-6 years ago, she just glanced over it. So afterwards, I'm like, that's so cool. She was in it. And Lisa London was in it. So that's pretty cool. I think this will be the first time ever that we have a movie. And next week's interview is with Lisa London, which is pretty cool. But no, I would say definitely it's a movie so bad it's good. Have a couple beers, smoke marijuana, whatever you want to do. And it's just so over the top crazy. Tommy Wiseau is a nut job. And dude, there's some great one-liners. As bad as the movie is.
There are. And listen, if you want to learn how gangs operate, is a good movie to learn. If you ever want to, join a gang, what to expect.
I heard the FBI uses this as training footage. You watch this movie and they're like, this is what it's like. So yeah, so that's it. That's Samurai Cop 2. The next movie. So we're going from Joe Marshall. There's a nice little 3 in a row that we're going to be doing that are pretty cool. So Joe Marshall, badass samurai cop. Next movie we're going to be doing, it is Harry Callahan, played by Clint Eastwood. So this is going to be our sudden impact in the Dirty Harry series. Lisa London has a small role, but it's a special moment for her because she was directed by Clint Eastwood. And so that movie is awesome. You can find that anywhere.
I have to be honest, when we reviewed that, that's totally going to make my day.
Oh, I like it. No, that's going to be a fun one to talk about because those movies have crazy scenes too. It's like an over the top, road cop, doesn't want any partners, like the same, but it's Clint Eastwood. And Lisa London's cool too. So check out her interview. During the interview, I found out she was like a world-class. She was in a huge super group from the 80s. I knew a couple of her songs when she said the names. She was just a lot of fun to talk to. So check that out. And don't forget to follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. Review, rate, share our podcast. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.